He said he was working late. Again. I believed him until I found a shirt, the one I got him for our anniversary, tucked into her gym bag. When I asked her why, she said, "Because you always thought love was enough." He moved out that night, but he didn't know I had copies of every bank statement. I'm not a dramatic person. I'm not the type to go through phones or stalk social media. I believed in privacy and trust, especially in marriage. That was my first mistake. Mark and I were married for 11 years. We lived in Joliet, Illinois, in a 3-bedroom home we bought right after our wedding. Nothing fancy, but it was ours. I worked as a receptionist at a dental office. Mark was in logistics for a distribution company. He was always busy, always tired, but I chalked it up to his job. Long hours, calls at weird times. Sometimes he'd be at the office until midnight. Or at least, that's what he told me. At first, I didn't question it. That's how cheating starts, I guess. Not with lies, but with the other person being too trusting. We had our problems like any couple. He was distant. We hadn't been intimate in months. But I figured we were in a rough patch. I thought maybe he was depressed or burned out. I tried to support him. I'd make dinner. I left little notes in his lunch. I even bought him a nice button-down shirt for our anniversary. He said he loved it. Said it made him feel sharp. I wanted to believe we were still okay. Until that Saturday. I had signed up for Pilates at this gym, fit and fierce. After work started to give me back pain. It was just supposed to help me feel better, physically and mentally. That morning I was tired, but I went anyway. I did the class, grabbed a water bottle, and was heading out when I saw her. Her name was Allie. I recognized her from a barbecue Mark and I hosted. She worked at his company. He introduced her as someone from accounting. At the time, she seemed sweet. She brought a salad that nobody ate and laughed at all of Mark's dumb jokes. I remember thinking she was harmless. At the gym, she was laughing near the smoothie bar with some guy. That's when I saw the gym bag. It was open. A pale blue button-down shirt was sticking out. I wouldn't have thought anything of it, except it looked exactly like the one I bought Mark. Same fabric. Same buttons. Same little stitching near the cuff. I stood there, staring at it. I walked up to her. I didn't say hi. I just asked, "Is that Mark's shirt?" She looked right at me. Just this smug little smile. She said, "Because you always thought love was enough." That's it. That's all she said. She didn't deny anything. She didn't apologize. Just dropped that line like it was something out of a movie. I walked out. I got in my car and drove home in silence. My hands were shaking, but I didn't cry. Not then. When Mark got home, 11:36 p.m., I was sitting on the couch. Lights on. No TV. Just waiting. He looked surprised to see me awake. He dropped his keys on the counter and gave me the usual line. "Long night. What's wrong?" I said, "Were you with her?" His face changed. He didn't even try to lie. "I'm sorry," he said. That was it. I told him to pack his stuff. I didn't scream. I didn't throw anything. I just stared at him while he filled a duffel bag with clothes and walked out. But here's what he didn't know. I had been handling our finances for years. Mark never cared about bank statements, credit cards, or online bills. So I kept copies. Every single one. Physical copies in a box. Digital ones on a hard drive. Passwords to every shared account. Even ones he forgot he had. That night, after he left, I opened my laptop. I pulled up every account I could. And what I found made my stomach turn. One of our credit cards, technically under his name, but opened after we got married, had over $12,000 in charges in the last year. Dinner dates, hotel rooms, jewelry, even a weekend at a bed and breakfast in Galena. I'd never been there with him, but he spent over $900 there on romantic packages. Then I looked at our joint savings. He had been quietly transferring money. Not large chunks. Small amounts every couple of weeks. $200 here, $150 there. Over a year, it added up to over $5,000. He was draining it, slowly, like he thought I wouldn't notice. But I noticed. I made a spreadsheet. Every charge, every transaction, the dates,
The times.
the locations. Then I called a lawyer. I didn't tell Mark. I didn't respond to his texts. I didn't answer his calls. I went to work like nothing was wrong. I went to the gym like nothing happened. Allie would show up sometimes. She'd glance at me and look away. I waited. My lawyer told me about marital waste. Basically, when one spouse spends money in ways that don't benefit the marriage, like an affair, the other spouse can fight to be compensated during divorce. But we had to build a case. So that's what I did. I got 3 years of bank records. I checked the timestamps. He took her out to Ruth's Chris Steakhouse on our wedding anniversary. He bought her a necklace the day I was at the ER for a kidney stone. He took her to a hotel the same weekend. He said he was at a work conference in Indy. I started printing pictures. I compared the dates to our calendar. I even pulled up photos from our phones, like when I was homesick and he was working late. It was all lies. 3 weeks after he left, he got served. He didn't see it coming. He thought we'd just talk things out and maybe do a quiet split. Too bad. He called me, left a voicemail. What the hell is this? You're dragging this out. We're both adults. Just let it go. I didn't answer. Then I did something even better. I called his HR department. I didn't accuse him of anything. I just said I had some concerns about a potential conflict of interest between 2 employees, Mark and Allie. I asked if it was appropriate for a senior logistics manager to be in a relationship with someone in accounting, especially if they were on the same accounts. 2 weeks later, Allie was let go. I heard through someone at the gym that she was blindsided. She apparently thought Mark would stand up for her. He didn't. He was too busy trying to keep his job from blowing up. Now he was living in a crappy rental apartment, driving the same car he once mocked for being too basic, and drowning in legal bills. He begged me to settle. I said no, because I wasn't done yet. I wasn't just going to walk away. Not after everything. Not after he threw away 11 years like they meant nothing. About 2 months after he moved out, I thought things would start to quiet down. I had the lawyer, the evidence, the statements. I figured Mark would fold. I figured he'd realize how badly he messed up and take the hit to avoid dragging it all out in court. But I underestimated his pride. Mark hired a lawyer, one of those downtown Chicago firms that charge $400 an hour just to send an email. I knew he couldn't afford it, not with the amount of debt he'd racked up, but I also knew he'd rather go broke than admit he lost. His lawyer tried to flip the script. They claimed I was controlling with the finances and that Mark was financially isolated during our marriage. Said he didn't even know what was going on with our accounts and that I'd cut him off emotionally and financially. They were trying to make me the villain. He wanted spousal support. Let me say that again. He wanted me to pay him. My lawyer called me, voice half amused, half stunned. They're arguing financial abuse, she said. I laughed. I actually laughed out loud. This man had an affair, drained our savings, moved out on his own, and now he wanted alimony? It should have been a joke. But it wasn't. So, I did something petty. I'll admit it. I logged into our old streaming services, Netflix, Hulu, even as Spotify, and changed all the passwords. Canceled the cards connected to the accounts. They were all still under my name. He'd been mooching off them for months. I changed the Wi-Fi name at the house to You Chose Her, just in case he ever drove by again. But the petty stuff wasn't enough. I needed leverage. That's when I found the emails. Mark had used a shared laptop while we were married. He thought wiping the browser history was enough. It wasn't. I found his old email logged in under a saved profile. I opened it. There were months of messages. Some to Allie. Some to his friends. Some to his brother. But one chain stood out. It was between Mark and a guy named Brad, someone I barely remembered from one of his old jobs. Brad had been helping Mark move money. It wasn't criminal, but it was shady. Mark was shifting small amounts into a separate personal account he'd opened under just his name. He used it to buy Allie a promise ring. A promise ring. For a woman he cheated with. While still legally married. I printed everything. I handed it to my lawyer. And I waited. Then something I didn't expect happened. I got a call from Mark's mom. We were never close.
She always seemed cold to me.
She once told me, a wife should know when to keep quiet. So I kept my distance. But now she was calling me. I heard what's going on, she said. Mark told us you're trying to ruin him. I almost hung up. But then she said, I didn't raise him to do this.
I'm sorry.
That stopped me cold. She asked if we could meet. I didn't know her anything, but curiosity got the better of me. We met at a diner near the courthouse. She showed up with a worn-out purse and tired eyes. She looked smaller than I remembered. I want you to know, she said. I didn't know about the other woman. I wouldn't have stood for it. He's making a fool of himself. I asked her why she cared now. She looked me in the eye and said, because you're still listed as the executor on my estate. I blinked. What? Mark never changed anything. His will, his life insurance, his retirement. Everything still has your name. I didn't even know he had a life insurance policy. Turns out, after his company promotion last year, he took out a corporate life policy. I was the sole beneficiary. She handed me a folder. Do what you need to do, she said. He's already lost our respect. Might as well feel the consequences. I walked out of that diner feeling something I hadn't felt in weeks. Calm. Because now I had more than leverage. I had options. The next day, Mark's lawyer called mine and tried again to push for a quiet settlement. They even offered a car. My car, the one I paid off by myself during the marriage, in exchange for dropping spousal support and letting Mark keep one of the investment accounts. I said no. Instead, we filed a formal motion for full financial disclosure, including all outside accounts, the ones he tried to hide. We included copies of the emails I found and the note from his mom verifying the policy and estate documents. His lawyer must have realized the walls were closing in. That's when I got the second twist. I got a call from Allie. I didn't recognize the number, but I answered anyway. She didn't even say hello. Her voice was shaky. He said he's going to ruin me if I don't back him up in court. I didn't say anything. I didn't know it was this deep, she whispered. He said it was over between you two for a long time. He said you were crazy. Controlling. He said you didn't care about him anymore. I stayed silent. She kept talking. He made me think I was helping him get out of a dead marriage. But now I see what he is. She sounded like she wanted sympathy. Maybe she did. But I wasn't giving her any. I don't care what you do, I said. But if you show up in court and lie, I will bury you both with evidence. She said nothing. Then, quietly, she said, I'm sorry. I hung up. I didn't need her apology. I needed the truth in front of a judge. And I was going to get it. 2 days after the call from Allie, my lawyer forwarded me an email. It was from Allie's attorney. She had officially retained counsel. She wasn't just scared, she was getting ready to flip. In the email, her lawyer stated that Allie would be willing to provide sworn testimony about the affair timeline, Mark's financial behavior, and his manipulation, if she was granted immunity from any potential claims tied to the marital waste. I read that email 3 times. Allie was ready to talk. She wasn't doing it for me. She was protecting herself. But I didn't care. Her being scared meant she was finally useful. That same week, my lawyer scheduled a deposition. We subpoenaed Mark's personal bank records, the ones tied to the secret account. We also requested a full employment history, including bonuses, expense reports, and travel reimbursements. Mark didn't take it well. He showed up at my work. I saw him through the front window, standing in the parking lot in a wrinkled button-down, looking like he hadn't slept in days. I told my coworker to lock the front door. I called security. He tried to get me alone in the hallway. I need to talk, he said, hands in his pockets. It's not supposed to be like this. We were married for 11 years. Don't do this to me. I didn't say a word. He stared at me like I was a stranger. Then he dropped this. You're not the victim here. You pushed me away. You made everything about money. That's when I finally spoke.
No, Mark.
You made everything about lies. Security escorted him off the property. I filed a restraining order the next day. Now things were picking up speed. Allie gave her deposition. She admitted everything. She confirmed the hotel stays, the trips, the gifts. She even provided screenshots of texts from Mark, texts where he bragged about finally getting access to his own money and ditching the old ball and chain. My lawyer smiled the whole way through. But we weren't done. There was still one thread left to pull. Months before the affair blew up, Mark had filed for a small business loan. He said he wanted to start a consulting company on the side. What he didn't tell anyone, including me, was that he used part of our home as collateral. And he never followed through with the business. No taxes filed. No operations. Nothing. It looked like fraud. I passed everything to my lawyer, who passed it to the loan agency's legal department. Suddenly, Mark had a bigger problem than me. He was being investigated for falsifying documents on a loan tied to our joint property.
They contacted me.
I showed them everything I had, emails, files, even a copy of the floor plan he submitted, which listed a dedicated office space in our basement that never existed. And that's when I found out what really broke me. Mark had forged my signature on the loan paperwork. That flipped everything. This wasn't just a messy divorce anymore. This was criminal. We reported it to the authorities. I filed an affidavit swearing I never saw, signed, or approved the documents. The handwriting analysis confirmed it. He traced an old signature from a check I wrote in 2018 and pasted it into the file. I sat with that news for a full hour. I stared at the ceiling in my bedroom, feeling the sharp, numb mix of anger and something else, grief, maybe. Not for him, but for the version of my life I thought I had. The mortgage company froze the loan. The bank opened an internal review. And Mark? He had no clue what was coming. His lawyer reached out again, this time begging for settlement. They wanted to avoid a public hearing. Said Mark would agree to drop all claims, walk away from everything, and let me have full control of the house and accounts if I just signed a mutual non-disparagement clause. In other words, he didn't want his dirty laundry aired in court. I told my lawyer no. No deals. No silencing. He wanted war. So I gave him war. Court was set for mid-March. It had been 8 months since Mark left. 8 months since I found a shirt in her gym bag. 8 months since the version of my life I thought I had was yanked out from under me. The week before the trial, his lawyer called again, this time with a tone I hadn't heard before. Desperation. Apparently, Mark was officially under investigation for the forged loan paperwork. The bank had filed a complaint. They were considering pursuing charges if he didn't cooperate and settle. His lawyer begged. If we can avoid trial, we're willing to give her whatever she wants. I smiled when I heard that, because now I got to decide what I wanted. So I made a list. The house. Full ownership. I wasn't moving. All savings and investment accounts in my name. Every penny. His retirement account. He never changed the beneficiary. It stayed with me. Public admission of fault. A written statement, signed by him and notarized, admitting to adultery, financial waste, and fraud.
Nomda.
I could talk, post, publish, whatever I wanted. He could never silence me. They signed everything. But I didn't stop there. When we walked into court that week, I still showed up. Not because I needed to fight, but because I wanted it on the record. He sat there in a cheap suit, 5 pounds thinner, sweating bullets. The same guy who once told me I was too emotional to handle the bills now couldn't even look me in the eye. The judge read the settlement aloud. Every item. Then she asked if I had anything to say. I did. I stood up, and I said, Your Honor, I spent 11 years building a life with this man. I gave up a job offer, delayed having kids, paid off debt, supported his dreams. In return, he lied, stole, and tried to destroy me. But the worst part wasn't the cheating. It was how he made me question my own instincts, my own worth. I stayed loyal while he was planning an escape route with another woman. He thought I was soft, that I'd break. But I didn't. I documented everything. And today, I walk away with the truth, my home, my future, and peace. He walks away with nothing but what he deserves. The judge nodded. Then she looked at Mark. He just sat there. Didn't say a word. Didn't even raise his eyes. 2 weeks later, I got the finalized decree in the mail. The house title transferred. His accounts frozen.
Mine un toolkit.
Then the real fun began. Remember Allie? After her deposition, she lost her job. Her name got flagged on internal HR reports across the company's parent group. Turns out, sleeping with a senior manager on a client account doesn't look good on a resume. She applied to jobs all over the county. I know this because she accidentally left her LinkedIn public. Each time I saw a new job application post, I forwarded the employer a copy of the notarized affidavit from court. Just the facts. She's now bartending part-time at a chain restaurant in Shorewood. Still posting fake smiling selfies with inspirational quotes. Still pretending she wasn't part of the wreckage. Mark? He didn't last long at his job after court. Between the legal costs, the investigation, and the fact that HR got a full report of his financial misconduct, he was let go quietly. No big announcement.
Just gone.
The house he tried to start a business with now belongs fully to me. I refinanced. Got the office space he lied about converted into a craft room. He tried to call me once after the settlement. Blocked number. Left a voicemail. Maybe one day you'll look back and realize you took it too far.
No, Mark.
I didn't take it far enough. You forged my name. You emptied our accounts. You gave another woman the shirt I picked out with love.
And now?
You live in a tiny rental apartment above a nail salon. Your credit is shot. You owe legal fees. You're blacklisted from your industry. And you're being reviewed for bank fraud. Meanwhile, I'm rebuilding. Slowly. But on my terms. And best of all, I framed the shirt. His shirt. The one from her gym bag. It hangs in my garage now, inside a shadow box. Underneath it is a brass plate that reads, "Because you always thought love was enough." I smile every time I see it. Because I loved him.
But now?
I love peace more.